Sean, it's clear to me that folks in the White House are being very sophisticated about how they're conducting this war against the White House Correspondents Association. What do you see in the White House Correspondents Association? Are they playing a sophisticated game back, or are they just completely overmatched?
They're overmatched. So they put out a statement last night under, we've talked about Eugene Daniels under his name, basically saying, so this is the way it worked. We described the pool in the past, right? So they all go into the Oval Office or whatever, the plane, and the president will speak or whatever. And then they send dispatches back. So the print pooler will write up, entered the room, the president, everything from the description of the room, that there were 5 people standing around him. Here's who they were. He was standing behind the desk. They're trying to give color to the room and the situation. And then they'll put phrases together. So they'll say, the president remarked on this. He was asked 5 questions. I'll try to pull one up right
Yeah,
now.
and some of these things are visible in the video that everybody gets of the event. Some of them are not because the camera doesn't show them. And if it's Air Force One and the president comes back and talks, they're not typically, sometimes they are, but they're not typically on camera. Or if the president comes back and speaks off the record, or an official does. So some of the pool material, it's simply getting stuff out quicker. Some of
Right.
it is, it's if you don't get it from the pool report, you're not going to get it.
Right. And it's sometimes very basic stuff. The helicopter took off at, so I'm reading this. This is from yesterday, 1:47 p.m. Some cabinet members are scheduled to do local media in the Rose Garden. There is also a probability that some may stop by the Sticks, which is an area right outside the West Wing where they have locations. It's just updating the pool on, the rest of the correspondence. And so the reason I say all that is to just explain the White House Correspondents Association last night said, hey, if these guys are going to expand the pool, we have certain standards that we have given our members who do these dispatches and reports to us. We can't verify them. So everybody should potentially stop sending those dispatches anymore. So the way it works, Mark Halpern's the pooler for the day, is what they call it. He goes in and writes the report, and you send it to an email, and then it gets distributed to all the members that are on that list. They're telling their folks, you guys might want to stop doing that, which I think is interesting because it sort of like that, when my mom used to say, just cut off your nose to spite itself or whatever. It's like
But your face, yeah.
Yeah. You're holding the whole group. You're screwing everybody now for doing that. Again, this is silly because it's additive. They're adding people to the pool. So it's just they're getting pissed that they can't be controlling it
Right.
anymore.
So, Dan, their goal, I think, would be to go back to the way it was before. That's not going to happen. So, if you were advising the White House Correspondents Association, what should their goals be now in this war where they are, as Sean said, overmatched, and how should they achieve them?
Yeah, look, I think this isn't chess. This is boxing, and they're getting almost knocked out. I would collaborate with them. I mean, at the end of the day, if they like take their ball and try to go home and say, well, now you can't get the news out, that's absurd. They can go right around
it hurts everybody.
Right. They can click a button and send out the news.
Okay. So what should they should go to Caroline Levitt and say what? What should their goals be now?
Just say, look, we don't want to keep being at war. We understand you want to add new voices. We fully support it. Like I would just move past this. I know we're going to get to this, but the idea that they are God, they are bigger than the White House, and they control this process, it's just crazy. I mean, you have to modernize, you have to move forward. And I don't see how they're going to win because they are content providers. They are not content producers. The producers are the White House. It always will be.
The fundamental problem in this is I've spoken to both sides on this. Last night, I had an opportunity to speak to a couple senior members of the White House Correspondents organization, as well as I've obviously talked to the folks. The problem is we've talked about, and I jokingly said to someone last night, Eugene Daniels, who leads this, who's currently still a Politico employee, has announced that he's leaving. We all know the dirty secret because he's going to MSNBC. Therefore, it won't be a White House correspondent, anymore. And I jokingly said to somebody last night, a member of the Correspondents Association, I said, if you guys were smart, you would make the case that, hey, or allow him to leave the presidency because the White House is not going to negotiate with him. He is an outspoken fanboy of Kamala. And so they have a leadership problem right now, and it gives them the perfect reason. But this is where ego gets in the way. He wants to chair the dinner and hang out with the Hollywood folks, and he selected the comedian. This is their problem. This is a situation where leadership matters, and the Correspondents Association, to your point, Dan, it's a game of boxing, but it's boxing with someone who doesn't, has never been in the ring, and they have a feckless leader who no one respects at the White House, and that's the fundamental problem.
They need to
Guys, when
replace.
Democrats have power again, and we will,
Yeah.
like, we'll choose who to put in the pool. Like,
Yeah.
great, and if it's one-sided and we pay a price, we pay a price. Like, the market will dictate this,
Yeah.
not a
Sean-
bunch of people sitting around.